Hey guys, Tisha here, and I'm back with another review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Before I start, let me say that my notes are going to be all over the place because I had to watch this thing multiple times because I was really not invested, and to me it was like watching paint dry. It didn't do anything for me, and I'm kind of over this show because I feel like production is playing in our faces. But I wanted to make sure that I came up here and I gave you guys a little bit of a review along with some of my thoughts and my opinions. So sorry in advance if it seems like it's all over the place, but at some point I will be saying what some of the cast have said. So we know that we start off seeing the girls do various things. We find out that Kandi is leaving. We see Sonia and Marlo laughing. We see Kenya and Monetta talking. And basically Monetta's coming to talk to Marlo to film a scene, but also to check on her. And while they're talking, Kenya lets it be known that Kandi called her. She tried to get some sleep, but Kandi was really upset and kept calling her, going off about Drew because Drew is lying on Kandi. She's basically calling Kandi a liar. And I'm going to say this a few times. Kandi is not a liar. And I'm going to say it because I need for Drew to understand that most of us knows that Kandi isn't a liar. And in this situation, Drew is clearly the liar. We see while Kenya is on the phone talking to Kandi, she's like, Kandi, no, you're not lying. I saw it. Marlo saw it. Shamia saw it. You weren't the only person who saw the kiss. And I guess my problem with Drew is I understand that because she lied however many seasons ago, I think it was season 13 when this came up, about the kiss, that's her story and she's going to stick to it. But I much rather, if you're not going to tell the truth, to say that you plead the fifth. Or do like what Kandi did when it came to the shooting that happened at her business and just say that you're not discussing it. You're giving these women more of a reason to talk about it because you're lying on them. We find out that LaToya calls Kandi, which I believe that's further down. Anyways, I'll get back to that. We see Drew talking to Sheree about Kandi and saying that she basically talked to Toya because Toya received a video from Marlo regarding the situation that was going on. Marlo wasted no time to send that video. I mean, absolutely no time, because for LaToya to have contacted Marlo, well, no, for LaToya to have contacted Drew as well as contact Kandi, because we find out later on that she contacts Kandi as well about this call, that means that Marlo sent that thing quick, fast, and in a hurry. Marlo said that she didn't want to catch Drew in a lie, but by recording her, she kind of did. We see Drew talking to Sheree about the issues that she's having with Marlo and Kandi instead of talking to Marlo and Kandi about these issues. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I do not understand why the ladies on this show are so quick to address their issues with their friends about somebody rather than go straight to the source. I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. And it seems rather childish to me. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, is production telling you to disclose this information to one another before you go to the person? Because at some point, they all do it. Drew is mad at Marlo because she says that she didn't want LaToya to be pulled back into it. If this is true, Drew, if you really feel that way and that's why you're upset with Marlo, I would think that you would want her to reach out to her and say what you're saying, because let you tell it what you said is the truth. You didn't lie about the subject. So you going off saying that Kandi's lying and that you didn't kiss LaToya, it shouldn't be an issue. You should feel vindicated about it, which further makes me feel like, Drew, you're a liar. Drew then proceeds to show us a text, well, production does, that was taken at 12:19, and it said, "Hey, quick question for the record. In all truth and honesty, did we ever kiss?" The reply from Latoya is a no. My question is, you said that Latoya spoke to you at 1:57 in the morning, sending you that video that Marlo texted you. Why then were you having a conversation with her at 12:19 about said video? Why is it that when you called and they showed the clip of you talking to her then, why wasn't that enough? Why did you have another conversation? It kind of goes back to Marlo saying that Drew lies so well it makes you question yourself, because I was sitting here questioning myself. I'm like, okay, something about that timestamp seems funny to me. I saw where it said 9:30 p.m., but then they had the message highlighted and bigger, and then right below that it said 12:19. So I was so confused by that whole thing. But the point is, at some point, Latoya has said that she kissed you. So the fact that now that she's saying no, I'm confused as to what's going on. Drew says that she thought that Marlo was her friend, so she was upset that she was recording her in a moment that she thought it was a safe space for them and their girls, and that Candy probably made this whole kiss thing up to get her in the space for the upcoming film that they're doing where she's supposed to be playing this kind of role. She brought up the fact how, we were all in that dungeon, and then she took it on tour. I didn't like that. Don't allude to Candy pressuring you to do this thing, because let's be clear. This film or whatever that happened after this whole kiss thing. So why is it that Candy all of a sudden now would be trying to produce this storyline? Anyways, we then see Sheree being asked by a producer if she thinks if she thinks that Drew is lying, and she says yes. She says that Drew is known to lie. So why would you continue to talk to her? If Drew is known to lie, why are you entertaining it? Because you'll do anything to have some type of storyline. Because let's be clear, if Sheree doesn't have this fibroids that she's going on this healing trip for, what else is her storyline? Martell that calls and talks about the sex that they supposedly have, that they don't go longer than 6 days without having, even though he's supposed to, on his show, have his kids every other week. So you obviously go more than 6 days, because Sheree said she's not around the children on his show. So that's another lie. But we're going to keep letting y'all have that. Drew lets it be known to Sheree that she's okay if she doesn't work on the movie, and she's okay with her and Candy if they're not friends. And if you care about Candy, I wouldn't be okay with saying, based on this little situation, that I don't want to be your friend anymore. It goes back to Drew just being on the defense. I think Drew is really worried about what Ralph and her family is going to have to say, as well as the writing is on the wall that they're going to be not together. And I think that for her, she's trying to save face. But it'd be better if you tell production that this topic is off limits. Sheree isn't your friend. What did I say? I don't even understand why this is an issue, but Kenya feels Drew should be mad at Marlo for sending the video. I don't agree with that. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because if Drew is telling the truth, there's no reason for her to be mad about the video being sent to Latoya. People cannot spray you with anything, with any type of evidence, video, anything like that, if you're speaking facts, but they can spray you if it's lies. So in my opinion, Kenya, that's where it would be a issue. Manetta talks about how at one point the ladies were kind of trying to collude, which I don't think that's the word that she meant to say. They were trying to convince Courtney to watch out for Drew. She's basically saying that Drew isn't consistent with the things that she says. Like, she'll say one thing on camera and another thing off camera. And I feel that it's the same thing kind of about Courtney, because I think back to the scene where Courtney made the comment about Candy's establishment, the people who come to Candy's establishment being ghetto, and then turning it back and saying, well, I was raised in the ghetto, like trying to make it seem like she didn't insinuate what she insinuated. So y'all are telling her to be careful of somebody who's supposed to be cousin by marriage, and y'all need to be careful of one another. We then see the ladies get on a bus to head to the sound bath. Monyetta raps. She's Money Shaw. Monyetta raps. Drew sleeps. Sheree says she needs to stick to dancing. Sheree, what do you do? What do you need to stick to? Because Martell and She by Sheree isn't it. So what do you need to stick to? Monyetta's rap was trash. But she's not doing that currently, so I'm not going to speak on it. And guess what? I can't rap, so who am I to judge? Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not a rapper, but I do know what I like, and I wouldn't particularly like that. But there's a lot of things that other people like that I wouldn't like. So, you know, I'll leave that alone. Drew mentions that, because they separate in different cars, and Drew mentions that Courtney isn't responding to her the same way, that the energy seems different. And that's because I don't really think that Courtney has your back, Drew. Even though you guys are supposed to be family, y'all are just getting to know each other. Y'all just found out you were family when this season began filming, which at this point has only been for a couple of months. She doesn't owe you anything. Even though Courtney kind of gets on my nerves, Drew, she doesn't owe you anything. She doesn't have to be there for you. She doesn't even have to be there for Ralph. We see them do the sound bath. Sonia thinks about her sister. Drew thinks about her issues with Ralph, talking about the trust issues and the communication and all these things. Marlo is thinking about Food and Scotty. Which really then she says she fell asleep. I can't remember. Sheree said her mind was clear, but they flash images of her grandbaby. I don't really think that it had the same effect for everyone, but Kenya gets very emotional, and while the lady is talking, Kenya's, you know, crying and stuff, and at some point there are acts that they would like to share. Kenya opts not to share, but then the lady pulls her to the side, and in the company of Monyetta, she basically says that she's thinking about her daughter and how blessed she is, and how sometimes she feels like she doesn't understand what she did to deserve Brooklyn. And I just feel like, Kenya, the universe is giving back to you. Your mother was not there for you, and you've been through a lot of unfortunate relationships, and sometimes God, because I'm a believer, has a way of reminding you of his love in different ways. And I am a firm believer that that's in children. There are very few things that I get emotional about, but one of those things is kids, especially my one and only son. My son is about to be in the 11th grade. And I think at where we started and where we are now, and no, it's not been perfect. Nobody's road is perfect, but I really have a really, really great young man. Like, I really do. I am so blessed. So I completely understood where Kenya was coming from in this moment. I think that she really took the exercise seriously. With that being said, I don't quite understand how this exercise is supposed to shrink Sheree's fibroids, because I don't really see healing being done in Sheree. Despite Sheree saying she felt something, I feel like Sheree is just doing what the producers asked her to do, which is find a reason to say why you're doing the cash trip, because y'all have a cash trip every year. So we're going to use the fact that you have fibroids and you need to shrink them and you don't want to go the surgical route as a reason to come all the way to Portugal for the only healing thing for you to have done was this sound bath, which, no shade to Portugal because it seems like a beautiful place, but you could have done that closer. I just don't feel like they took advantage of where they were at. We see the ladies go up to have some meatballs and beans and some other things. And the ladies talk about how fun the previous night was. Marlo mentions that Sheree says until. Marlo mentions that she sent LaToya the message, the video of Drew. And Drew starts making a scene, giving her tired comments about her past. It was a really childish argument about her edges and records and things being expunged. All those things that we've already heard before, and I'm tired of it. Kenya and Courtney get into it because Kenya wants to know if Courtney told Drew what was said about her by the ladies. Courtney tells Kenya to stay out of it and mind her business and learn from karma. I wish Kenya would have allowed Monyetta to say what she heard, because Kenya, it really wasn't your place to say anything. And that whole argument between you and Courtney could have been avoided. But at some point, all the ladies do this. Sheree said that she was healing, but now she's embarrassed. Girl, what? You're embarrassed because the ladies are arguing in this setting when you just did the same thing with Drew last episode in the restaurant. Not only did you do that, but you did the same thing Drew did because you walked out. So what's the difference? None. Kenya, as she walks out, some of the ladies are with Sheree, Marlo, and I think Courtney. Kenya and Drew say that Courtney is a snake. No. Kenya says that Courtney is a snake, and Marlo says that, not Marlo. Ooh. Kenya says that Courtney is a snake, and Drew says, who do you think is the puppeteer? Marlo is the true snake. Producers asked Monyetta what's the difference between her recording and Marlo recording, and she says none. And to me, the difference is she didn't do anything with the footage. Monyetta also said that once they stopped recording the video, she put it down. They asked her this because Courtney had brought up the fact that Monyetta is no different, that they're making a big deal about Marlo, but Monyetta did the same thing. And Courtney, you're reaching because that's not the same thing. Sonia says that Marlo was wrong. And this is when I was like, okay, Sonia, look at you not being, Sonia, I always say her name wrong. Loyal to the alliance. They leave. They go. They go back to the hotel. At some point, I can't remember if it was the next day or something. I told y'all I was in and out of this thing. But at some point, we see the groups talking about the situation. I said again that I wish she would have allowed Monyetta to tell the story. Sonia says that she did not like what Monyetta did. She didn't like the fact that Monyetta went and told Kenya about the situation, that she felt like Monyetta should have said it. And I agree, Monyetta should have said it. But Sonia, you do the same thing when you go back and forth and you're the mouthpiece for Marlo and Sheree. So what is the difference? It's so much hypocrisy with these ladies that it drives me nuts. We see the ladies go out to eat. They talk about the 8 years, the 7-year itch, and we find out that Drew's been married to Ralph for 8 years. I believe it was Kenya asked, how's it going? And she said, it's going. There's some difficulties. Sonia wanted to know too. Ralph's no longer in counseling, and you can tell that this has struck a chord. And Kenya basically says in confessional that there's something different about that whole situation. We then see Kenya ask Monyetta in front of the ladies, like, has anybody spoke to Candy? And Monyetta says she did. She said that Candy's confused about the whole situation, but she'll just talk to Drew about it once she comes back. She then adds that Candy talked to LaToya And Latoya said that Marlo's reasoning for sending the text for Toya was to show her how Drew really feels about her, which wasn't what Marlo originally said in the beginning. I can't remember what Marlo said, and I wanted to rewind it back, but I was like, you know what, I'm over this show. Sonya and Sheree basically says that Monyetta is to blame for some of the confusion and for doing the same things that we see Sonya do and Sheree do so many times in these episodes. We hear about the double standard between Monyetta, but once again, Monyetta didn't send a video to anyone. She recorded, and I think it was in Candy Speak on it. She said that a lot of the ladies were recording. But those two were the ones that happened to be recording at that time, because production wrapped, she said, at like 10 something. So there was a significant amount of time where some of that booty shaking and all of that wasn't even from production cameras. It was from the ladies' cameras. Then we hear Marlo say she's sorry for doing what she did, but she still wants to know the truth. And Drew tells her to worry about herself in so many words and keep her name out of her mouth. Marlo then says Karma is a B, which was in reference to what Courtney said about Kenya. And that's why bees have bad things happening to them, referring once again to what Courtney said. Monyetta asks what that means. Kenya goes into a whole spill about how serious that fall was and how she could have been paralyzed and all these other things. And I will say this, Kenya, it was very serious. I wish that it didn't happen to you, but your monologue wasn't needed. Every time you do that with the extraness, you give them ammo. Courtney says that Kenya has a history of being mean to people. Production proceeds to show a bunch of clips, including Kenya going off about them knocking on the door at the hotel. I feel like showing that clip was irrelevant because you're not showing the context of it. Kenya had every right to go off. They were banging and kicking on the door with her daughter in there who was scared. So there was no point in showing that. There was no point in showing her going off on Martell when Martell was getting up in her face and basically saying like she's easy. But y'all keep like not showing the full context of things, what makes me feel like production doesn't really like Kenya or Candy. They keep going back and forth, and while Courtney and Kenya are going back and forth, Marlo is laughing and no one says anything, including Sheree. But Sheree lets us know that she's so drained and she's so over this trip, and Marlo's gonna get her a shirt that's all blinged out to make up for it. It's the last day. They're at the vineyard. They're having a good time. Marlo gets a text from Ralph saying, stop talking about him. Ralph, why are you texting Marlo? Drew, why did you tell Ralph what Marlo said? You don't have nothing else to talk about with your husband while you're gone? You could have brought that up when you got home. I don't feel like a man should be addressing a woman about that situation. Drew, you want to act like you're a big girl, then be a big girl and stand up to Marlo on your own. The ladies go back and forth for a little bit, and Kenya is smart and she's like, let's not do this. Let's just have a good time. It's your last day. Why would you want to keep arguing about these things? Anyways, we see the ladies continue to drink. The people dance for them. Drew said they were cute little pilgrims, even though they're not pilgrims. She didn't even realize that pilgrims weren't around anymore. Just like how she didn't know that she's been to Africa before, even though she told us that, I think she said she went to, anyways, West Africa or some part of Africa. It was Africa. It was a place in Africa. They're taught the dance. They showed them a little dance. They said that the trip was okay, even though they haven't healed. In my opinion, the trip was a complete waste of film. Candy's videos on her IG for her birthday were more entertaining. 5 video clips was more entertaining than an hour of this show. And to me, that shows that it's production's fault. If these same people can be seen on their social media platforms and be more entertaining than this show, then that speaks to where this show is going. And bravo, y'all have to revamp it, man. Y'all have to change producers. You have to like make some changes. The fact that we're talking about issues that happened 2 and 3 years ago and we're bringing them to this season is insane to me. We heard the same argument between Kenya and Courtney and Drew and Marlo 2 different times during this film, this episode. So much so that my notes are all over the place because I couldn't remember what happened at what time, because it was the same stuff that was said over and over again. I don't understand. It's so much hypocrisy. Drew got mad about being recorded, but Drew, seasons ago, did you not record a whole conversation that LaToya had with the pastor and play it at Cynthia's party? The same thing you're complaining about is the same thing that you do. So I don't get it. Kandi is not a liar. Once again, Kandi is not a liar. Let me say it again. Kandi is not a liar, but you are. And I feel like people take Kandi's kindness for weakness. Kandi is better than me because we know at this point that you filmed for the movie and that she said you did a great job, but I wouldn't have used you. They could have found another actress that would have been willing to work for them. Because you are the type of person who will lie to someone in the face and they wouldn't even know. You had me sitting here questioning myself if what I was saying was accurate, because I'm like, wait a second, I don't quite understand this text message. Like, what's going on here? Is it a thing where, okay, did they have a conversation and then after the conversation and the thing was sent, she went ahead and called her and then found out the information after she called her and then said like, okay, I'm going to send you this text and I'm going to say, you know, did we kiss? And I just need you to say no, just so I can have it in my records. And then that's what you did. Because that's what it's feeling like to me. It's feeling like that was contrived. It's feeling like Marlo said that you did something to make her change her statement, because we saw already on Speak On It that she agreed to it, that you kissed her. We saw on the reunion show that you kissed her. So why now is she saying no? Why? You don't want to give Ralph any more ammo? Plead the fifth. I'm not talking about that right now. That's the past. We already dealt with it. Next. Y'all let me know your thoughts down below. Once again, I'm sorry for how all over the place was. I'll try and do better for the next episode. Hopefully it's more to work with, because like I said earlier, I wasn't feeling this. Until next time.